The biggest thing that we've hauled, if you see pictures of the Guppy being loaded with what looks like a white frozen turkey, that's it.
All right, James, so how do we get up to the cockpit?
All right, so we're gonna take this ladder up here, so let's head on up.
You wouldn't expect it to be so roomy up here. It is the Super Guppy. There's a lot to digest here. What type of crew does it take to operate one of those?
We have a pilot and a co-pilot, 2 flight engineers, and a loadmaster. If we go on the road, we also bring our maintenance team with us.
All right, James, so what's the main role of the Super Guppy and how much flying are you guys doing these days?
Well, the main role is carrying and transporting oversized space hardware. For example, heat shields for the crew capsules. We've also carried some of the service modules and crew modules for Artemis 1. We've carried both of them together at the same time. Also, when aircraft break down, we have the ability to go pick them up and take them back to a maintenance facility.
How do you pick them up? Do you just chuck them in the back?
Well, you may have seen some of the pictures of us with 2 T-38s nose to nose. We'll do some measurements, build specific dunnage, so that when we crane the airplanes, we'll set them down and make sure that they're balanced and restraint. We'll then put them on the loader, lift the loader up, line everything up, and slide it in.
So what's the biggest thing you've had in here?
The biggest thing that we've hauled was the crew module and service module for Artemis 1. It was a little over about 45,000 pounds. If you see pictures of the Guppy being loaded with what looks like a white frozen turkey, that's it. We picked that up in at the Cape in Florida, and we flew that up to Plum Brook in Ohio for environmental pressure testing, and then we returned it back down to the Cape after its testing was complete.
How does this compare to like an Antonov or C-17 compared to like what it can fit?
That's a great question. Due to our turbo shaft or turbo props, we have the performance and weight capability similar to a C-130 Hercules, but what makes us stand out is our cargo deck is much higher. So other aircraft like Antonov, C-17s or C-5s can carry a lot more weight, but they're much shorter. We really stand out in carrying medium weight, very large voluminous items.
All right, so James, when you're at altitude, is this whole back of Guppy pressurized?
No, it's not. The only part that's pressurized is the flight station here. You can see the curvature is the original KC-97 flight station. It was then ballooned out to make our other than normal cargo bay.
So this lifts a ton of weight. So what sort of engines are we running?
We have T-56 engines, the same as a Navy P-3 Orion. The propellers, though, are off a C-130, and one of the things that makes it more unique is we also have a water methanol system. We can use that at high altitudes or high temperature airfields to give us a better engine performance for takeoff.
So did I notice the engines are actually like upside down on the plane?
Well, you must be very familiar with the C-130, but like I said, they're off a P-3. So you may think that they're upside down, but someone who flies a P-3 says they're right side up.
So who's right and who's wrong?
That is a very good debate.
So what about the takeoff distance on a plane like this? How long does it take to get off the ground?
Our minimum is about 7,000 feet, but we try to have more.
All right, so James, how many Super Guppies are left flying and how many pilots can fly them?
Well, this is the last Super Guppy flying. Currently, we have 2 pilots that are fully qualified in the Super Guppy right now. We do have one more that if we get flying enough, he'll get trained up. A lot of it is on the job training. When it comes to our emergency procedures, we do go to the P3 simulator in Jacksonville. It's not a perfect comparison, but it's as similar as we can get for doing our emergency.
So what would be a typical aircraft to come from to eventually transfer to the Super Guppy?
There are a lot of different aircraft that our pilots have experience flying. A lot have either Navy or Air Force background when it comes to either F-18s or other Air Force platforms.
But the drag would be pretty different on this than an F-18, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so looking up there, the hinge is actually pretty small for what I would think. Why is there not like multiple, or is that just enough?
Other Guppies did have 2 hinges. This version has 1.
When it folds open, how's the whole thing supported?
We support the fuselage with struts here. And then the nose, all the weight is on the nose gear, and then it's pushed open by our drive outrigger.
It's actually a pretty simple system for such a big aircraft.
Yeah, it's simple, but simple works.